Retail sales have suffered the biggest drop since records began, falling by more than 5% last month. The figures from the Office for National Statistics show that clothing has been particularly hard hit. It's down by 35%. The one sector that is booming, not surprisingly, is food and alcohol. Our business editor Simon Jack reports.
There was nothing spiffy about today's figures from the high street. Owners of the self-styled happiness store saw commercial misery as retail sales dropped at their fastest rate since records began 34 years ago.
In the 2 weeks in the run-up to lockdown, we were down 24% on last year. And then, obviously, since we've closed the doors, we've had nothing coming in as a result of the shop being closed.
Whether you have one store or 100 and have an online presence like this maker of mother and baby clothes, there's been no escaping the deadly economic consequences of a virus that has emptied our high streets.
The reality is, overnight, we lost all our retail sales and our retail overheads continue. Yes, of course, we've had some help from the government. We've had a rates holiday and we're negotiating with our landlords. But that's not the full picture in retail. We have shops which have become sarcophaguses for stock, which is time sensitive.
So is the entire economy. The longer the lockdown goes on, the greater the economic damage. This is one of the UK's busiest shopping venues. Right now, it is the scene of an unfolding economic disaster. Today is the first time that statistics have caught up with what is blindingly obvious to see. And remember, these numbers only capture 2 weeks of the lockdown period, just a foretaste of the grim news ahead. So it heaps further pressure on the government to supply even more assistance to struggling businesses. The government has already offered an 80% guarantee to those who lend money to virus-hit businesses. It's been under pressure to increase that. This was the Chancellor on Monday.
I'm not persuaded that moving to a 100% guarantee is the right thing to do.
Well, that could change. The government is considering fully backing loans of up to £25,000 for the smallest businesses. A good move, say business groups.
Although many of them don't want to take on loans, they haven't taken on loans before, they know they just need to be able to pay their bills, to cover their overheads. Many of them have furloughed workers but have other bills to pay. It will keep them afloat. And every job that is saved now will enable our economy to recover more quickly in the future.
Debenhams has said it will permanently close its major stores in Wales if the government there doesn't reverse the decision to withhold business rates relief for bigger firms. In better news, B&Q has reopened half its stores, but we are a very, very long way from business as usual. Simon Jack, BBC News.
The Metropolitan Police says it has made more than 4,000 arrests for domestic abuse in recent weeks. The force, which is the country's largest, says phone calls reporting domestic abuse have risen by a third. Police around the UK and domestic abuse charities have urged victims to seek help during the lockdown. The technology firm Dyson says the medical ventilator it has been developing to help treat patients with COVID-19 is no longer required in the UK. Dyson says it had received an order for 10,000 ventilators last month, and which has yet to be approved by regulators. But the government has now said its services are no longer required. 750,000 people applied to become NHS volunteer responders when the scheme opened a month ago. Since then, 600,000 have been accepted, but so far only 50,000 tasks have been carried out. It's caused frustration among would-be volunteers, as well as confusion among some vulnerable people who want access to the service. Now organisers have apologised for the delays and opened a helpline where people can register for support. Judith Moritz reports.
My name is Rebecca Fairclough and I have volunteered for the role of check-in and chat.
Rebecca applied to be an NHS volunteer 4 weeks ago. It was a fortnight before she was approved, and as of now, she's still to receive a single request to help someone in need.
I've been on the app and you mark yourself as on duty since then, mainly in the evenings and weekends, and nothing, I've not had anything. So there's a total of 75 hours I've been online ready to volunteer and either make or take calls, and I've heard nothing.
Rebecca says she feels doubly frustrated on behalf of her parents who don't live near her. Her father Peter has a lung disease and is entitled to help from the scheme, but they didn't know how to get it.
In the shielding letter, it actually tells you to get friends or family to collect your prescriptions. So, and that's from the government.
So you personally haven't phoned up or tried to access the NHS scheme?
No, I wasn't aware of it, to be honest.
Could you do with extra help?
I think we're all right now because the community's kicked in.
Going from door to door, local schemes like this one in Liverpool were quick to get going. Many communities helping to look after themselves.
We're almost done. We've seen Roy and Tony.
We are doing a lot of sort of courtesy calls to keep people company, things like that. We've started to deliver hot meals, really anything that we can put our mind to because, you know, as I say, the experience within our community is quite significant, and if you organise that, it can be quite a powerful thing.
There's a whole range of organisations offering help, some of which overlap. Local councils are delivering government food boxes. Charities and community groups have sprung into action. And the NHS volunteers can help with jobs like delivering groceries and medicine, amongst other things. Not everybody who's eligible for the help knows where to go for it. That may be why there are many more NHS volunteers than jobs for them to do so far. The organisers have now opened a hotline to make it easier for vulnerable people to request help. There are volunteers who are frustrated that they're not being used. The numbers of tasks being done aren't huge. Is this working?
The key is that we give everybody the opportunity to get themselves into the system. Anybody who feels that they are at risk or vulnerable, who feels that they can get support from a shopping role or prescription pickups or maybe a call, please do give us a ring. You can find our number, Raw Voluntary Service website, and we'll be able to get you some support.
Every project, big and small, has a part to play. The work of volunteers is proving not just valuable, but vital during this crisis. Judith Moritz, BBC News.